Okay, I'm going to get started. Good afternoon. You're all looking great. Welcome to Los Angeles. So many faces that this is our sixth annual neuroendocrine patient and family conference here at Cedars. This is my third. For those of you here 2 years ago, we had a too small room here, wound up doing a lot of logistical changing at the last minute, and it showed the flexibility of the neuroendocrine community. We were all together, and here we are again, and it's wonderful to see so many faces again and again, still on the journey, still looking to learn, still looking to be empowered with the kind of information I hope you get here today. So it's very special for me to be here with you all. I'm Ron Hollander. I'm the Executive Director of the Caring for Carcinoid Foundation. And I'm pleased, as I said, to greet you to the sixth annual Cedars-Sinai Caring for Carcinoid Foundation Patient Family Conference. I do want to say some thank yous at the beginning. I'll talk a little bit about our foundation, and then we'll introduce the program. First thing I want to do is some thank yous. I want to thank some very special sponsors. But before she leaves the room, I want to thank Laren Heider, who is in the back of the room. So please join me in some applause for Laren. Laren has just been just a tower of strength in the middle of producing this and so many other things that are important to advancing our research. And she's been a wonderful partner and ally to me these last couple of years. And I just wanted her in the room because I usually wind up thanking her when she's not in the room. To hear your applause as well. So, Laren, thank you so much. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Caring for Carcinoid Foundation, then I'll talk a little bit about today's program. I'll introduce Dr. Woolen, our co-chair, and thank him. I also want to let you know that on all of your tables, there should be these orange cards. They actually have lines on the other side. There are pens on every table. One of the things that's always the highlight of these conferences is being able to ask and have answered your questions. And by putting your questions down on these cards, hopefully even if it's something that you wouldn't want to get up in front of the whole audience and ask, it can still be asked of the panel later today. So please take advantage of that. If there's a question that comes up from a particular speaker, and we run out of time for the Q&A for that particular speaker, all of the speakers have agreed to hang around till that final full hour for your questions and answers. So please take advantage of that, and either Laren or I will pick them up during the break. We will be taking a break, and we will pose as many of those as we possibly can to our panel. So, okay, let me talk a little bit about the Caring for Carcinoid Foundation. As I said, I've been the executive director. I've had the privilege and honor and very deep responsibility, quite frankly, to be the executive director of the Caring for Carcinoid Foundation for this 2.5 years. I talk to patients and families just about every day. And they come to us often with questions. They may be beginning their journey. They may be on their journey, very deeply into and trying to see whether they need to do something else on their journey, but they all have the same questions. Why did I get this? What caused these tumors to develop? What causes them to grow so slow and then so fast? Why aren't there more standard treatments like there are with some other cancers? And can somebody else in my family get this if I have it? And most importantly, why aren't there cures? We at the Caring for Carcinoid Foundation do a lot of wonderful things, answering those questions as best we can, giving people guidance to resources, doing these education programs. But the core mission of the Caring for Carcinoid Foundation is research, funding research to find answers to those questions, answers that might be on the genetic and biological level in terms of why these tumors form and grow, and just as importantly, and even more importantly, what we can do to improve the journey, make those treatments better, more standard, less risky, and ultimately find the kind of cures that we and you and your loved ones all seek. And it has been my privilege to really be part of that over these last couple of years. So I'd just like to take a few minutes to describe, we usually do this at the end, and I want to make sure we have all that time at the end for your questions. Let me share with you a little bit about our organization. So the Caring for Carcinoid Foundation was founded by a metastatic patient herself in 2005. Her journey began the way so many began. Misdiagnosed with symptoms for years. She was told irritable bowel syndrome, working too hard, too much stress, until she collapsed on the subway in Boston and was diagnosed with metastatic neuroendocrine disease. What she found was very little information on the internet, very little information about research that was being done, and very little what she felt was structured, peer-reviewed, consistent, strategic approach to that kind of research that could really yield the fastest results in a short amount of time. And I'm pleased to say, with her inspiration and those around her, we have now raised and funded $10 million of research awarded to leading scientists and centers all over the world. It has been my privilege to be part of that process. And in 2011, a breakthrough that I'll talk about very shortly was credited with really revolutionizing the field's thinking in this area by finding the first mutations in neuroendocrine tumors, which opened up other doors, as I'll describe. That helped us not only in terms of results that could lead to more things, it also started to attract other scientists working on other cancers or on similar kinds of scientific ventures, but in other fields to, hey, maybe we need to focus our expertise on neuroendocrine cancer, and that's a big part of what we do. It's not just finding the best projects, but bringing in the best scientists and knitting them together so they can share information and make rapid progress. And so all of that comes with the funding that we raise, and it all comes from either individual donations, some corporate grants, and from some athletic fundraising events. All of the sponsors, who I want to come back and thank again at the end of this, are funding our education programs like this here today, some of the information we do through our newsletters, but all of the research and all of the money that individual donations raise goes 100% to that research. We take a very collaborative approach. Just 3 weeks ago, we had 100 different neuroendocrine scientists from all over the United States and Europe in the same room together, talking about not only what we had funded in research, but what else was going on in their areas. Because we believe very much, even before results are published, the fastest way to get to breakthroughs is to get those people together. So they share information, they learn from each other, and it's amazing to watch these scientists questioning each other and really trying to find the answers as quickly as possible. So that's a big piece. We also, and you have a copy of our newsletter at your places that just came out, to make sure that even though everything we do goes through a very sophisticated peer review, we throw the door open to all scientists, all cancer researchers in the world to get the best ideas. And so we are funding this year 2 new projects that are described here, and I'll talk a little bit about, looking at new possible treatments. And those came to us from the American Association for Cancer Research. The AACR has 34,000 members throughout the world. They have a peer review committee, we have scientists on it, and they pick the best of all the proposals they get, and those are the ones we're funding. We're funding 2 this year instead of 1 because they had that kind of quality to them. And as I said, we are working very collaboratively with other neuroendocrine organizations, both here in the United States, and I'm also proud to say I am a member now of the board of the International Neuroendocrine Cancer Alliance, building not only awareness, but trying to build momentum towards better treatments and cures worldwide. And then, of course, other foundations, sometimes private family foundations, especially if there's a patient in the family, are interested, and we try to work very, very closely with them on breakthroughs for neuroendocrine cancer. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but just suffice to say, we have a very systematic approach to how the research is done. We have a very sophisticated and well-known board of scientific advisors from major centers all over the United States who review every proposal and some of the things I'll be talking about here today. And we fund research on the basic side, on the side of really developing the kind of models that help us test new drugs, and very importantly, I'm proud to say, over the couple of years I've been here, clinical trials that are really based on the science and give us some real hope of breakthroughs in terms of care and cure. As I said, in 2011, we found the first mutations on neuroendocrine tumors. This was published in Science. It opened up the doors in several ways. One was our director of research today, our executive director then, Lauren Erb, testified before Congress, and her testimony helped lead to the first new drugs approved in over 30 years for neuroendocrine cancer, everolimus and sunitinib, the generic names. And it also opened the door to other scientists, because when we found these mutations in what was called epigenetics, genes that control other genes, there were labs all over the country that had expertise in that area, and that's what we went after. We said, look, whether or not you're interested in neuroendocrine cancer in the past, if you have expertise in this area, we want your proposal as to what you would do to help us unlock the code of what forms these tumors in neuroendocrine. Terrific proposals. We funded 5 projects that are all working on developing models to see what else we can find that would unlock the key to that mystery of why these tumors form, why they grow, what controls them, what we can do to stop those processes. So that was a big breakthrough. I'm pleased to say in 2013, things are really picking up. Some of you have heard me say, this, I believe, is the most exciting chapter since the founding of this organization. We had 3 new doors open, if you will, 3 new publications last year in major scientific journals of findings from our funded research. Our portfolio is expanding. I'm very excited about our first clinical trial that was announced last year and is just beginning this year at Sloan Kettering in New York. Many of you are aware there's a nationwide, and I'm sure Dr. Woolen will talk about this, PRRT trial trying to see about bringing this treatment that's only available in Europe and some other countries to the United States. We're looking at a potentially safer and more effective form of PRRT that will be the focus of the trial at Memorial Sloan Kettering. The 2 new projects that we just announced, which are in that newsletter, are both looking at new potential treatments for neuroendocrine cancer. One is a brand new cancer drug that's going to be delivered through nanotechnology as a way of testing a potentially more effective drug and delivering it in a form that's safer without the use of radiation. And that's going to be at the University of Wisconsin, Dr. Herb Chen, some of you know. The other is testing a drug that's already been approved by the FDA for melanoma on, in that case, pancreatic neuroendocrine tumors at the University of California at San Francisco. And one of the advantages to this proposal is, should it prove successful preclinically in the lab, we could go right to phase 2 trials because it's already been approved by the FDA. So it really shortens the time between bench and bedside, if you will. So we're very excited about that. And then there are 2 projects I can only say a little bit about today, not because I'm not excited about it, but because we are so excited about it, but we're just this close to finalizing the details. Some of you may have heard, has anybody heard news reports about immunotherapy over the last few months? I see about 20 hands going up. It's everywhere in terms of cancer these days. And this is the idea that scientists have had for decades now. Why can't we turn on our own immune system to fight cancer the way it fights other diseases, right? Wouldn't that be better than bombarding our bodies with powerful chemicals or radiation? That's been kind of the holy grail for many, many years. Well, they've actually found, usually in combination with some other interventions, other drugs, that there might be ways to turn on the body's immune system to fight some of these cancers. There's been some unbelievable results with some melanomas, for instance, very amazing responses with some childhood leukemias, lung cancers, people who have run out of options for all the standard treatments, who respond not only for a year or 2 or 3 or 4, who are 5 more year cancer-free in some cases. Just amazing things. And this is from our perspective as a scientific advisory board, as a board of directors, as a staff, if something this exciting is happening in cancer research and treatment, we want to do our best to bring it to our neuroendocrine community and neuroendocrine patients. So we have just decided to fund 2 major studies, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. And I can't reveal the names just yet, but we will very shortly. So watch for our newsletter soon. And if you're not signed up, let us know. We'll sign you up. And these are going to be specifically looking at, in one case, one of the people who's been cited again and again and again in the literature for making all these breakthroughs in another form of cancer, who's going to be working on a team trying to see whether they can apply those same techniques to neuroendocrine. And in another case, a major center that has a lot of experience in immunotherapy and other cancers doing a clinical trial on the West Coast for both carcinoid and pancreatic neuroendocrine cancers. So we're very excited about this. No study, no clinical trial is without its risks, but these are the kinds of things that I firmly believe we need to be doing to fulfill our obligations to you all, and especially you all who, many in the room, who donate to this cause. So again, thank you for even making this possible, and this is what we'll be concentrating on going forward. All of this excitement is attracting new labs, new partners. Some of you saw we had a major foundation here in LA issue a huge challenge grant. We still have some money left in that challenge grant, I'm pleased to say, to help us raise the funds to do some of this work. So again, thank you again. And keep in mind, as much as this is a very tough time for many cancer centers and hospitals and biomedical research because of the cutbacks in federal funds, there aren't a lot of federal funds in neuroendocrine cancer. And in some ways, this gives us an opportunity as a private funder of cancer research to get the attention of some of the really leading centers and researchers to focus on neuroendocrine if we can come up with something that makes sense scientifically and we can also help to fund. So very exciting. I'm very excited about it. Please stay tuned. More to come. So in summary, this is a very exciting time, and we're very, very optimistic about the future. There is nothing that anybody can promise about how quickly research delivers the kind of results that I know I hope for and I know all of you hope for. But that process is accelerating by bringing people together, by funding clinical trials, by looking at the biological and genetic bases of these diseases, by expanding our partnerships and pulling people together. And I also would mention investing in young scientists. We have a Young Investigator Award too, to bring in more even scientists to the cause. So that's what we do. And let me introduce the program then, because I said at the beginning of all that what I get a lot is people calling on the journey. It's a journey that's unpredictable, and we want to, through the research and through working with the clinicians, make more standard and predictable. But we also want to make sure you have the information, the guidance to inform and empower you as you make this journey. And that's really what our program today is all about. Our program, there we go, is sponsored by some wonderful organizations, and I hope you will visit their tables during the break again. Of course, Cedars-Sinai, I'll introduce Dr. Woolen in a minute. Novartis Oncology has been a terrific supporter of our education programs throughout the year. Net Alliance, and there is, as there was last year, for those who haven't seen it, an application that you can try to help you track appointments and your data available, and there's a nurse educator doing some demonstrations of that out at the table, so please stop by there. Pfizer Oncology, I'm not sure they have anybody with us today, but they are supporting this program. We're very, very grateful for that. InterScience Institute, I know many of you know Mia Tepper. She is somewhere in the room. There she is. And she'll be out at the table, both providing information and booklets and other support. And Lexicon Pharmaceuticals is with us. And Shanna, are you in the room? There she is. And she'll be manning the table too. And a very, very special welcome to someone who is with us for the first time today from Novartis. Elise Kaplan, are you in the back? There she is. Elise is, for those of you who knew her, the new Millie Kowalski, although she's got a much bigger job even than Millie had, and she's been a wonderful ally and partner since she joined Novartis just earlier this year or so. So welcome to you, Elise. So very pleased to have all of you as sponsors. The program is broken into two segments. The first segment before the break is really going to be about understanding, diagnosing, and treating neuroendocrine cancers. So hopefully a lot of really good information. If you have your questions, again, please record them as much as you can on those sheets, because we'll probably have a lot more time to answer them during the last segment than during these individual segments. The second half after the break will be about living with NATs. From a point of view of a nutritionist, from the point of view of living with some of the issues of living with both the emotional and other impacts of a chronic and uncertain journey with disease. And then we're going to have all of our panelists together to really answer your questions. And Giovanna Mbisi, the leader of LA LAC NETs, will be moderating that section. She'll be going through your questions. So that's our program for the day. I want to start it off by just introducing for a brief welcome someone who welcomed me into this field 3 years ago very, very warmly. When I came to LA, I was on the job for about 5 weeks or so. I'd heard a lot about Dr. Woolen, how committed he was to his patients. And I saw in that weekend not only how personally connected he was to the 200 people it seemed we had in that room, but he also ran a marathon the next day to raise money for us and all these other things he was doing, and I know he spends countless hours supporting you all. I know he's going to be supporting many of you and many others in these next coming months and years. And I just want to thank him personally and have you all join me in thanking him for his incredible leadership and dedication to the neuroendocrine community here at Cedars. So, Dr. Woolen, please join me in thanking you.
Well, thank you for your warm welcome. It brings me great pleasure to once again have the opportunity to speak to all my new friends and old friends who are here today to learn more about carcinoid and neuroendocrine tumor in this educational program. This is the 6th year, I believe, that Cedars-Sinai has been doing this in conjunction with the Carcinoid Foundation, and to me it's been really an inspirational experience every time, just seeing all of you here and as we all learn from each other and talk about the exciting new developments that are happening. The questions, I think, will best be deferred until the last part of the meeting when we have a panel discussion, because we are running a little bit late now and I don't want to shortchange anybody on getting good answers to their questions. Just remember that in this kind of a venue, the best kinds of questions are things that are of general interest regarding the disease itself, management of neuroendocrine tumors, and management of life situations with neuroendocrine tumors, but specific questions regarding particular treatment strategies and follow-up are best done personally with your physician rather than in this venue.